Millis, the assistant to the administrator of the Bureau for Policy Planning and Learning at USAID, was our keynote speaker for the National UN Day event, and President Biden sent UNA USA members a greeting for UN Day, which I believe was a first. And we organized a private meeting between Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, US representative to the UN, and our current and former youth observers to recognize International Day of Youth. Over the past year, we have not slowed down at all. We connected our UNA USA network with UN officials from agencies like the UN Refugee Agency and the UN Population Fund, with US government officials, as well with global issues experts, influencers, and activists through our Global Engagement online series and passport programs, the UN Day celebration, the Global Engagement Summit, and special events like the case competition with UNICEF and the Social Justice Series organized by our Youth Observer. Speaking of our Youth Observer, Cynthia Yu, our 10th Youth Observer to the UN, she has been doing a phenomenal job, from connecting with over 33,600 young people through speeches and presentations delivered to live audiences at events, UNA USA chapters, and partner organizations, to reaching almost 290,000 people on social media via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You probably even saw that she took a photo at the White House a few weeks ago and managed to snag a photo selfie with President Biden. And we're always just so proud of Cynthia, but I really admire her for a selfie game. I mean, she got a photo with Biden as a selfie, so that's cool. Regarding our advocacy efforts, in 2021, we had 11,000 online advocacy petitions sent to members of Congress. But with our newly hired grassroots advocacy manager, Maria Mala, we are back on track to having over 20,000 petitions on the support for UN funding in 2022. Note, just a quick note, many of these petitions are made during our summits, geo sessions, via email, so please make sure to look out for them and participate in our petitions. Last year, we launched a petition that called on US representatives to co-sponsor HR 4220, the United States Commitment to Peacekeeping Act, to lift the artificial cap on UN peacekeeping dues so that the US can pay its dues in full and make progress towards ending the years of debt we continue to accrue. UNA USA also partnered with like-minded civil society organizations to give us a stronger voice on Capitol Hill and the White House. Over the last year, we joined approximately 10 sign-on letters to ask for support on issues such as support for domestic and global programs and policies that promote sexual and reproductive health and rights, a request to President Biden to send an ask to Congress to ask for additional emergency supplemental funding to respond to the challenges of COVID-19 globally, as well as the alarming global hunger and humanitarian situations. There was another sign-on letter for robust funding for peace building, atrocity prevention, and human rights-related accounts in the fiscal year 2023 State Department Foreign Operations and Relations Appropriations Bill. And we asked for increased funding for the State Department's Global Equity Fund and USAID's Inclusive Development Hub protection of LGBTQI+ in persons. One last highlight from this past year is that we gained new national partners, such as the Eastern area of the Links Incorporated, which consists of 4,500 dynamic women who live out their commitment to making a difference by delivering transformational programming in their communities. We look forward to connecting the Links chapters with UNA chapters this fall. While these updates were on the national level, we all know that the heart of UNA USA is at the chapter level. Despite being in the second year of the pandemic and everyone experiencing some Zoom fatigue. But thank you, those that are online right now. Community chapters went from 730 events in 2020 to 762 events in 2021, ensuring members still had local engagement on the UN and the SDGs. This is a 15% increase in the number of events held in 2019. Across all community and campus chapters, SDG 3, 4, 5, 13, 16, and 17 were the most addressed. In addition, almost 120 chapters partnered with other local or national organizations, including the Rotary Club, American Association of University Women, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc., the Links Incorporated, Zonta International, Amnesty International, Unitarian Universalist Association, and more. Our chapters also ensured advocacy was threaded throughout everything they did. 61.9% of chapters engaged their members around a national digital advocacy action, while 15% created their own advocacy actions. 17.3% exercised their right to protest, and 23.7% submitted a letter to the editor or an op-ed to a publication. UNA USA chapters across the country are constantly in action to make a difference. Some are working to educate, like UNA Minnesota, which hosted its first virtual Model UN conference, successfully gathering over 260 high school students. Other chapters, such as UNA Puerto Rico, are serving as a bridge to connect their local communities to global efforts to combat climate change and promote sustainable development. The chapter is the liaison between the local 2030 Islands Network Secretariat and the government of Puerto Rico. Chapters such as UNA Harvard University and UNA Liberty University found ways to adapt to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and utilize technology for advocacy through new partnerships and events. These are just a few highlights how UNA USA chapters are making an impact in their local communities. And I cannot forget the great work of our affinity groups. So here are just a few highlights. The UNA Women Affinity Group submitted a commitment to the Generational Equality Forum to work on initiatives around Cities for CEDAW and the development of youth leaders. Also through UNA Women, we launched the Tom Ford Beauty Mentorship Program, which selects 10 UNA Women Affinity Group members and pairs them with 10 senior management members of the Tom Ford Beauty team. The second cohort just started last week. The UNA Human Rights Affinity Group has hosted pre- and post dialogues around the UN Human Rights Committee sessions. And the UN Staff Alumni Affinity Group was launched and has already hosted a couple programs with senior UN officials. If you are a former UN staffer, Foreign Service officer, or Peace Corps volunteer, please consider to joining this group. They're really looking to expand this network. If you would like to join an affinity group, by the way, I encourage you to do so via the UNA USA website. As always, there is so much work to be done. For 2020, we will continue our normal programming, like the summits and town halls and the Youth Observer program, just to name a few. But we will focus our new priorities for the next 12 months to continue to build upon the great work of UNA USA. Some of these priorities include implementing new branding initiatives to make UNA USA more visible in our local communities and around the nation, putting a greater focus on chapter support to make sure chapter leaders have the tools and resources as they conduct more in-person and hybrid events and find new ways to actualize the UN Sustainable Development Goals in their communities. Increasing recruitment activity and outreach to non-youth to create a more balanced membership. Creating a more robust advocacy program to increase our outreach to members of Congress and the administration. And finally, aligning our work with the UN Secretary General's Our Common Agenda initiative and our future agenda program. Overall, we're headed in a great direction, and we at the national office look forward to collaborating with you to make UNA USA a stronger and more influential network of UN advocates. So thank you, that's my report. At this time, I would like to bring to the stage our 2020-2022 National Council Chair, now immediate past Chair Paula Boland, to provide updates from the National Council. Before she takes the stage, I just want to have another opportunity to publicly thank Paula for her leadership of the Council over the last 2 years and her unwavering dedication to UNA USA's mission and membership. She has been a great, I'm looking back here because I'm looking at her. She's just been a great partner, advisor, and now friend. And luckily, Paula is not going too far. Like I said, she's transitioning into the immediate past chair, so we can still tap into her expertise and guidance. So welcome back, Paula.
Thank you, Rachel. And another big round of applause for UNA USA, the national team, and all of you for having had a very strong year. You heard all the impact that you can also use back at home as you are recruiting new members or fostering new programs and collaborations. So hello again. Despite the ongoing challenges posed by the pandemic, 2021 was a strong year for the National Council of UNA USA. I am very proud of our collective work and grateful to all and each one of the members who served in the 2020-2022 National Council for your service and your commitment to our mission of building a strong US-UN partnership. At this point, I'm going to ask the outgoing members of the 2020-22 National Council to stand up because we want to say thank you very much for your years of service, and many of them go even back. We also have some online. Thank you. And I know you will remain very actively involved in your chapters, and you will remain an advisor to the National Council. Special appreciation goes to the UNA USA staff, led by Rachel Pittman, for their ongoing support and guidance, but particularly to my executive team during these past 2 years as chair, with Mariela Lee serving as the vice chair, who is now succeeding me, and London Bell, who is with us virtually for her outstanding job as secretary. It was an amazing experience of working together as a team during a challenging time and getting to know our council better. Thank you. This past term, I'm just going to share a few highlights with you. We created the first National Council strategic plan with 4 long-term goals and associated outcomes and activities tied to committees and regional representatives. So thank you to all of the council members who work on this. It was led by the chair now, Mariela Lee, and is a good framework for the new council to adopt as they continue to further our work. We also held the first National Council new member orientation back in June 2020, which was much appreciated. We improved the meeting format of the National Council calls, leading to increased engagement of council members through the use of online tools such as breakout rooms and the active use of our forum on Slack. Supported the work of our committees and affinity groups in a variety of ways. We created the Diversity, Equity, Accessibility, and Inclusion Task Force, including the development of a UNA USA-wide DEAI strategy, something that will be an ongoing work for the current council. We represented UNA USA and the council at major programs such as the Leadership Summit, the Global Engagement Summit, at chapter events across the country. with UN agencies here in Washington and in New York, and through our congressional outreach. We like the first, so we also conducted the first open house for National Council candidates this past June in 2022. So folks would have a better understanding of what it means to serve in the National Council. I do want to do a shout out to Marcia Brewster, the chair of the last nominating committee, for all the hard work throughout the process, but also in strengthening the transparency and the way we went about the selection of the council. We improved the transparency of the nomination process, as I just mentioned, for National Council Executive Committee and nominating committee roles by allowing self-nominations prior to the June National Council meeting, and much more. So it's been an absolute pleasure, as I mentioned earlier. I'm not going away. I will still be involved as the immediate past chair and an active member of my chapter. So keep doing what you're doing, keep gaining the skills to be strong advocates, and help us to continue further our mission. Thank you very much.
So now I have the pleasure to introduce the UNA USA 2022-2024 National Council members. For those that are here in the audience, if you can just stand, and for those that are online, if you can do a wave. So our National Council of 2022-2024. Marielle is in the wings. And these individuals are your representatives. UNA USA is made up of 11 regions, and each region has 2 to 3 national council members that represent you. And if you're a chapter leader, please make sure you get to know them personally. We're going to give you an opportunity, I believe, during lunch to allow you to do so. So I am so proud and honored that I have a great new cohort of National Council leaders to work with, and we're going to do some great work over the next couple of years. So thank you. So we're going to move into a town hall. I'm going to step off for a second to help our new chair, Marielle Lee, to come on stage. Everyone, welcome the new chair of the 2022-2024 National Council, Marielle Lee. So we're going to move to a quick, we have about 10, 12 minutes, a town hall that will allow you to ask questions of us or comments about UNA USA, where you like to see it headed. I will look online for our people online. Look for your comments. Please put them in chat. And we have some runners, if you can raise your hands, that will take your questions or comments. So Sukmani and Maddie, so feel free. This is casual, you guys, so I'm going to sit down and love to hear if you guys have any questions or comments about anything you heard and so forth. And hello, everyone online again. Please don't be quiet. It's kind of awkward.
Please ask.
So Marielle, let me just throw you a question. What do you look forward to as being chair of the National Council?
I would say for me, it's really getting to know the local leaders. Really, it's been a pleasure just so far this morning hearing the stories from the great work that you're all doing throughout the country, whether it's focusing on water or as they're doing in New Jersey, quite busy with UNA Women activity. It's really amazing to hear, especially as we're all volunteers, but we're all passionate about all of these things. So for me, it's hearing those local stories, that's for sure.
Great. I thought I saw a hand raised. We're going to have a mic. Oh, you have a
Yes,
mic.
thank you, Maddie. Hi, my name's Angela. I'm one of the campus fellows, and so being from a campus chapter, I'd love to hear about any initiatives or ideas or just generally focuses you want for campus and community chapter integration, since I see we have a lot of youth representation at the conference, and I'd love to see more initiatives like that at the National Council level as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually something I'm quite passionate about, and I really hope that we as the National Council for the next 2 years can deliver. And what does that look like? So for us, it's really ensuring that us as regional representatives, when we're engaging with our different chapter leaders, it's not just the community chapters. They're doing wonderful work, but our campus chapters are also doing amazing work as well. So really making sure that everyone is being brought into the fold, using existing resources that we have, like Slack on UNA Forum. That's a great opportunity to connect with one another, really, kind of working more closely with the campus fellows like yourself. And so we're really certainly thinking about how we can better do that because, again, us together forward. Thanks.
Hi, Jill Christensen, National Capital Area. It is us together forward. Obviously, there's always room, so much room for development. And where do we grow? Where do we build? Where do we sustain membership? And so actually the question goes to Rachel Pittman, but I'd love to hear from others too. You mentioned the importance of not youth membership, but that we retain older adult membership. Older adult meaning 26 and over. But if you could speak to that, because certainly we've seen that within the National Capital Area, but I didn't realize it's in fact much broader than that.
Yeah, I mean, we have, you used to hear 60% of our membership is under the age of 26. It's now 75% of our membership is under the age of 26. And I think people like me who are a little bit more seasoned bring a lot of value to UNA USA. So I want to, as we look to engage and interconnect our campus chapters and community chapters, we need more people that belong to community chapters so that we can have those intergenerational discussions and collaborations. I think this is just something really important for all of us to think about it. There are many people who are interested in development issues, humanitarian issues that are older than 26. We just need to find them. They are there and bring them into our network. So this is something that we can do together in expanding our network and having what I think would be beneficial and valuable is to have a more balanced membership. And the other thing that I want to talk about is it's not just age, it's just overall diversity that we want to make sure that we bring in other voices into our membership. So these are the things that we're thinking about at the national office and also with the National Council.
Absolutely. What I would also add, if I may, it's so critical to have that more connectivity or interactions between our student chapter campuses and community chapters, because we want continuity. If we're talking about sustainability, we want to ensure that community chapter campuses, the future young professionals, continue their experience at the community chapter level. So it needs to start earlier. And we also need to be mindful about the different audiences that we're reaching. I know that our membership committee within the National Council is looking at ways to improve membership benefits, but also really giving incentives to the different age groups and demographics that we have.
And while I'll also add, Paula touched a little bit on our work with the strategic plan, and one of those long-term outcomes is really looking at membership recruitment and retention and working through the existing structures that we have, like the membership committee, like the leadership development committee, to really think of strategically how then can we move our youth, wonderfully engaged, to kind of continue to be involved at the community level. What does that look like? As Paula mentioned, increased benefits as members, maybe targeted programs that are mid-career professionals. So for instance, I started as a young professional, not so young anymore, kind of in the mid-career bit. And so what are some things that we can use that really kind of are specific to that audience to really, because they, I think, really sustain along with many of the other audiences of our community chapters. So thank you for the question.
We got one over there.
Does the person have a mic?
Yeah.
Oh. No, you can stay where you are, Ed.
Okay. Thanks very much. Ed Almondar from UNA-NCA. I wanted to pursue the membership issue a little bit further, particularly in light of the 70% which are in the younger category. Can you say any more about the churn, the extent to which even within that category, people are coming in for a year, they don't have to pay any dues, they say, okay, it doesn't cost me anything, I'll sign up for a year, then they don't continue. That is a category we need to be paying some attention to and thinking about new ways of engaging. And this leads me then to wonder whether we do have sufficient knowledge of why people join UNA USA and what we can do to build on that information. Thank you.
And if Farah Eck was on stage, I know that she's like itching to come up on stage.
Yeah.
She would talk to you about how she has done membership surveys, focus groups to get at that information. And also she is looking at creating a new membership category that helps transition those youth members into a young professional member or career member, but making the transition where they have benefits of things on leadership and careers training and so forth to help with that transition. So that is exactly what we're looking at. And Farah, I hope I did you justice in my answer.
If I may also add to that point, I mean, again, the National Council, this is where we kind of come in and serve as a resource, really making sure that you all as chapter leaders have the tools and the resources you need to understand that why, that personal why. Why is it that you initially signed up for UNA USA? And reminding people of that. I think part of it also is identifying the strengths that each of the members have, whether at the campus chapter or at the community chapter, identifying those strengths, identifying those passions. That's what keeps people engaged. And so really honing in on that and kind of continuing to build on that. And I will say more of a logistical plea, especially to our young members, particularly those that are in university and so on. Please stay in touch with us. Make sure that you have your updated information, whether it is that you move back to your home state or elsewhere. It's really helpful for us to have that, and we have tools and mechanisms in place to ensure that after you leave that campus chapter, you've been so engaged, how then can we connect you to that community chapter?
If I may add, from a community chapter perspective, I think at NCA we have been quite effective over time at engaging students and young professionals by giving them leadership opportunities. So this is something that I would recommend to you through committees that you have in your chapters, through positions on the board. It's very helpful to have voices of young professionals on the board of directors at the chapter level, as well as students. Currently, we have voices for undergraduate, graduate, and young professionals.
We have 3 minutes. Barry, let's see.
Thank you. Now that I'm over 27,
Barely.
two questions. One is, if a chapter has a particular membership issue, somebody who they know is a member but not showing up on a list or something like that, who is the main contact as opposed to bothering Katrina or Rachel every time with that? Who would be a person they should contact to iron out that issue is one question. And the other is, and Paula may have just touched on it, but what chapter, maybe a smaller chapter, because I know NCA is probably one of the largest chapters in the country, what smaller chapter have you seen that was effective in connecting to a university nearby, a campus chapter and community chapter that was effective at bridging that, people bring people over the bridge to a community chapter? Thank you.
I don't have the question on the smaller chapter. I mean, the first thing that popped in my head was Greater Lansing, but that's like a big university that's with them. So
Maybe we have
maybe
someone,
you have someone in the audience that can tell us. And what did you guys do? If you give the mic back to him, Maddie. Thanks.
Okay, the Pomona Valley chapter connected with the Claremont colleges, which is in the Pomona Claremont region, and they connected with the Model UN group that's on the campus.
Oh,
Model UN.
that's great.
And if I can add, I know a really good model that I've seen, not necessarily from a smaller chapter, but in Florida, I believe it was the Tampa chapter, where they actually had, the community chapter had their board, and one of the representatives on the board was the campus president. So there was always that point of communication between what's happening at the campus level and what's happening with the community chapter. And they worked quite well together. So that could also be a great suggestion for many of you.
And Katrina and Maddie are the leads for the chapters, so keep bugging them. No. Was that Himija way in the back that had a question?
Oh, we're running.
Oh, and then why don't we go here and then to Himija? But
Okay, thank you. I think this is my first time here. I may be your prime or target, 26 and above, and new to the organization. I work with students from around the world, age 12 to 18, and as I'm listening to this complicated and multi-layered structure of UNASA, I'm trying to figure out, and I heard that there are a lot of networking opportunities, but who among us has time to continue to network to find the right person? I'm just wondering, one thing I would love to connect the youth to older generation would be the mentoring relationship. So if there is a even college chapter mentoring these international high school clubs around the world, and that would be great. But even if I have these kind of ideas, how do I find out who to contact and how to develop all those connections?
I think the best thing is to work with your local chapter on developing, because it's going to have to be local, right, to connect mentor with mentee. I know that UNA-NCA has had similar programs, so it might be talking to those chapters that are already doing it.
You're in the right table, by the way.
And then modeling that in another chapter. But I think mentoring programs are great. Okay, I'm going to take one more. Who has a mic? Okay, Himija, you're the last one. But what we'll do after Himija's comment or question, we're going to put up a QR code. So fancy now. And so if you have any other burning questions or comments, you can submit it to us, and we will get back to you. So Himija, take the floor, and congratulations once again on graduating.
Thank you. Well, first of all, it's so great being here with you all today, and happy World Environment Day.
Yes.
That's always a big one. So along that lines, we've seen that youth advocacy has really shined bright in so many climate advocacy spaces, and it's something that a lot of young people are really passionate about. So my question for you is, how can UNA USA and UNA National Council continue being leaders in the climate justice space? Thank you.
Thank you, Himija. Great question. I mean, we have, as many of you may be aware, the Global Goals Ambassadors program. And those are opportunities for, members like all of you, especially our young members, but also our more seasoned members, to become leaders that have quite a passion for, in this case, SDG 13, to really lead on things. But I think I would also add one thing that I think we can improve or strengthen as it relates to the National Council is really making sure that we're streamlining all of our programming. So when we're thinking about programming, are we also thinking of it from the climate perspective? Are we also thinking about it from a gender lens? Are we thinking about it, from a diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility lens? Really making sure that thread is all throughout all of our programming, because if there's one thing I think we know is that there are so many intersectionalities. And we really need to kind of touch on them, and they impact different communities very differently, but it's important to certainly keep those elements front and center as we do all of our programming and advocacy work. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, I don't know if I close it or you close it. No more questions.
No questions online? I don't know.
Nobody.
I can't see.
Nobody posted anything, but happy graduation, Himija, from Barbara Felton. So at this time, I will, along with my colleagues here, officially close the 2022 annual business meeting. Knock, knock. And we are going to have lunch. So to your left, out in the atrium, we welcome you to grab a plate of lunch. And then as you see on your tables, there are tent cards based by region. So if you can find your region, you're going to have an opportunity to speak with one or two of your regional reps. So I welcome you to have a wonderful lunch and wonderful conversation.
Can I just add one final point,
one more
Rachel?
point.
Sorry.
closed
So
the meeting.
please do, well, please do, just kind of reminding you to please, if you haven't had a chance to ask a question, to submit it there. But just know this isn't your only opportunity. Again, we're your regional representatives. You've elected us. We're here to serve you. So really do ask those questions, over lunch, but also, get our contact information. You know that you can follow up with us. It's not just a one-time thing and then we're gone. So, and do expect to hear from us because we'll be reaching out, that's for sure.
And
Thank you.
Final plug. I can't help it. We are going to have special elections in January for some of the regions that did not have enough candidates this past election. So if anyone in this room has the bag and would like to explore more the possibility of serving in the National Council, talk to your current representatives, talk to Marsha back there.
The regions that are short on National Council representatives are the
Mideast,
New England,
Northwest,
and Southeast.
Southeast.
All right.
At least one or two regional representatives from those four regions.
It's a great opportunity.
It is indeed.
Okay, now
Thank
we'll have
you.
lunch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.